But the Lord hurled a great wind upon the sea, and there was a mighty tempest on the sea, so that the ship threatened to break up. Then the mariners were afraid, and each one cried out to his God, and they hurled the cargo that was in the ship into the sea to lighten it for them. But Jonah had gone down into the inner part of the ship, and had lain down and was fast asleep. So the captain came and said to him, "What do you mean, you sleeper? Arise, call out to your God. Perhaps the God will give a thought to us that we may not perish." And then they said to one another, "Come, let us cast lots, that we may know on whose account this evil has come upon us." So they cast lots, and the lot fell on Jonah. Then they said to him, "Tell us on whose account this evil has come upon us. What is your occupation, and where do you come from? And what is your country, and of what people are you?" And he said to them, "I am a Hebrew, and I fear the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land." Then the men were exceedingly afraid and said to him, "What is this that you have done?" For the men knew that he was fleeing from the presence of the Lord because he had told them. What you're confronted with is the anger of God. When you're reading a narrative and you come across the word "but," which begins this part, you know there's going to be a change in the story. Something is going to happen different. And the "but" is that God sends this incredible storm. You know how vicious this storm is when seasoned mariners are scared to death. This is not the first storm these guys have faced, but this storm is big enough and bad enough that it scares seasoned sailors. And God is saying, "You run from me, watch me." I want to say this before we look at the details of the narrative here, because they are very interesting. The anger of God is not the embarrassing uncle of his characteristics that you should hide from the rest of the family. You could argue that the anger of God is the hope of the universe. If God weren't angry with sin, there would be no hope for us. If God weren't angry with sin, there would be no cross. You do not want to live in a universe where the one who is in charge of the universe is incapable of anger, because there would be no justice and there would be no mercy. It would be a world that would be utterly unlivable. But I want you to hear this. The anger in this moment is not the anger of vengeance. It's not the anger of condemnation. It's not the anger of judgment. I want to say this. If I had been writing this story, the storm and Jonah being thrown overboard would be the end of the story. "You don't follow me, drowned. Because I will not have you stand against me." In fact, in God's holy righteousness, it would have been absolutely holy and right for him to do that. To say, "You have defied my holy law, and you will be judged on that basis." But God doesn't do that. Don't think that it's not till Jesus comes that grace is preached to you in the Bible. Grace is being preached to you in this story. Because God is harnessing the forces of nature and anger, not to condemn Jonah, but to turn him, to redeem him. This is righteous, redemptive anger. And you can't look at this, I can't look at this, without, in this moment in this story, seeing the cross of Jesus Christ. Listen, what drove Jesus to the cross? The anger of God with sin. What drove Jesus to the cross? The grace of God towards sinners. On the cross of Jesus Christ, the anger of God and the grace of God kiss. His holy anger is your redemption. His holy grace is your redemption. And that's what you see in the story. You see the themes of both those. Is God angry? Yes, He's angry. Will He act? Yes, He will act. But it's not the anger of vengeance. It's not the anger of condemnation. It's not the anger of judgment. It's the anger of grace.